Hola mis amigos. Today we're going to start by looking at this painting by Pablo Picasso. So based on your knowledge of the elements and principles of design, things that we've talked about in class, I just want you to look at this painting and describe what you see, what you notice, what you think is happening, and maybe some elements or principles that you see as well. So you can pause the video, you can think, you can look, you can ponder, and then once you have sort of made your thoughts, we can talk about it. So I want you to think right now and pause and then hit play again when you are ready. So I hope you had a little bit of time to think about this painting and what you notice. Some things that I notice are line. So we have some curvy, wavy lines and very thick black outlines as well. Maybe it helps with the emotion that Picasso's trying to portray here. I also notice a lot of different color. I notice a lot of different shape. And if you remember from our notes, Cubism is all about abstract shapes. Cubism is what Pablo Picasso invented. Different multiple viewpoints, different shapes, breaking up images. You can see that this lady has been broken up into many different shapes. Also in terms of color, I see contrast. If you remember the Zentangles and complementary colors from our last project, black and white creates contrast, so that kind of pops out at you. I also see some blue next to orange. That's complementary colors and contrast. Some reds next to greens, and even some purples next to yellows. So Pablo Picasso purposely put complementary colors next to each other, opposite colors for contrast. So the yellow and purple really pop, the blue and orange pops, the red and green pops, the black and white really pops, because you can't get much more opposite than black and white. And he's also telling the emotions of this lady. It's called Weeping Woman. So she's feeling some anguish, some sadness, and you can really tell that she's very broken up about it. No pun intended. So hopefully you're able to understand Cubism a little bit more and some other elements and principles of design. There's even some pattern and other elements and principles in there too. So Pablo Picasso knew all about his elements and principles, even though he was very abstract. So today we are going to talk about our trio. A trio is a group of 3 portraits, and you're going to get a piece of paper. It can be whatever size you have at home or whatever you want to use. And you're also going to want to use some different scraps. You could even use scraps from magazines, scraps from newspapers, Google images that you print out if you have a printer at home, or just a bunch of different colored scrap papers that you have too. If you don't have that, you can use your roll of Picasso, roll of Monster, and just kind of draw a trio of your favorites in your sketchbook. And then maybe translate it to a final copy paper as well, where you add color and interesting textures, patterns, designs, lines, you name it. So what you would do is think in your sketchbook what trio you want. So maybe you want it to be a theme. So you might want 3 characters from your favorite TV show, or 3 characters from your favorite movie, or maybe you invent 3 different characters. Or if your theme is Halloween, I'll show you one that I've made. A Halloween theme, I kind of did a Frankenstein with a ghost and a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern on top with different scraps, a witch in the middle, yikes, and a vampire too. So my trio, vampire, witch, Frankenstein, so 3 portraits, and then they all have an accessory as well, and that accessory or thing that goes with it would be like the jack-o'-lantern, the ghost, the cat, and the bats. So you can have accessories or a little sidekick to go with your main trio. Your trio, the 3 main characters or 3 portraits, would be the biggest part of your collage. So Cubism and collage, the 2 main words that we're using. So Cubism, abstract shapes. Collage is cutting and gluing shapes. So you could just be very surreal and just cut random triangles, random rectangles, random squares, random diamonds or hexagons or octagons, or you could be a little more organic and just kind of draw weird blobs and use whatever shapes you cut up to create a face or a character for your trio. You could also draw those shapes with a pencil or oil pastel or anything you want. If you want like a specific head shape, you could draw it out first and then cut it and then glue it. So collage is all about cutting and pasting different shapes, different papers, different materials, because you can actually collage with yarn. You could collage with found objects. You could collage with just about anything you have in your house. And actually, I painted paper and let it dry before I collaged and cut it out. So another little rough draft here. I cut and pasted all these different shapes, and then I used oil pastels, even some watercolor paint, some markers to add details, even some words, some funky lines, textures. You could crinkle your paper to add texture, so you could do like an accordion fold if you want to pop out. So you could cut a rectangle and fold it back, forward, backward, forward, and you have a little accordion. And you could glue one end and then cut out a different shape to pop on, and it would be popping out and bouncing at the viewer. So that's some cubism abstract shapes going on. You could also just make a Picasso pumpkin if you want. So you could draw shapes, cut them out, and make your jack-o'-lantern with some of the shapes that were in the Roll a Picasso game or Roll a Monster game. So if you want, you can make a trio of just jack-o'-lanterns, or a trio of characters that you choose or that you rolled in the game in your sketchbook. But basically, we're just learning about collage and cubism. So if you can find different materials to cut and paste and add together, that would be a collage. And then a trio would be a group of 3 portraits. And cubism is using abstract shapes, different viewpoints, and being a little kooky, and in my case a little kooky and a little spooky for Halloween. So I want you to pick a theme, pick a trio, pick materials, and just kind of have fun being like Pablo Picasso, who always had fun when he made his artworks too. So good luck, show me what you have. If you have any questions, let me know too, but I think you guys are going to rock this. Have fun.